My name is Daniel, and this is the story of how my own parents abandoned me and how I rose without them. It's not easy to say these words out loud because most of us grow up believing family is forever, that no matter what happens, your parents will always be there to love you, to protect you, to guide you. But what happens when the very people who gave you life treat you like an investment gone bad? I was 18 the day everything began to fall apart. It was the morning I was leaving for university. My suitcase was packed, my heart full of hope. I expected hugs, maybe a tearful goodbye, or at least a simple, "We're proud of you." Instead, my father crossed his arms, looked me straight in the eye, and said coldly, "Don't call us while you're gone. Focus on your studies. We don't want distractions." At first I laughed nervously, waiting for the punchline. But my mother didn't even look at me. She turned her head away, silent and cold. That was the last thing I carried with me as I stepped into my new life. The first semester was tough, but I kept dreaming of Christmas break, coming home, smelling Mom's cooking, unwrapping even a small gift, sitting together as a family. But when I walked in through the door in December, that dream shattered. They were there, sitting in the living room, but they didn't smile, didn't hug me, didn't even say, "Welcome home." The house was silent, cold, lifeless. There were no gifts under the tree, no warmth, no love. It was like I wasn't their son anymore. Still, I went back to school, telling myself maybe it was stress. Maybe things would be better later. But when the school year ended, I tried calling home, and all I got was a robotic voice. "The number you have dialed has been disconnected." Panic rushed through me. I dialed again and again, but the line was dead. Finally, I called my grandmother. My voice shook as I begged for answers. She sighed and said, "They moved away, Daniel. They left. They gave me their new number, but I'm not supposed to share it with you until you finish university." My heart dropped. "What? I'm their son! Why would they do this?" Her voice turned sharp. "That's what they told me. You'll understand one day." And then she hung up. I stood there in silence, staring at the phone, realizing the truth. My parents had cut me off, abandoned me, left me with nothing. Bills piled up fast. Rent, books, food. I sold everything I owned, my laptop, my guitar, even the watch my grandfather once gave me. Piece by piece, my life disappeared. And then I had nothing left. For a month, I was homeless. I slept on cold sidewalks, under bridges, in libraries until the security guards kicked me out. The nights were the worst, my teeth chattering, my stomach growling, my heart aching. But even worse than the hunger or the cold was the loneliness. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard my father's voice, "Don't call us." But something lit inside me during that darkness, a fire. If they could abandon me, then I had one choice: to prove I could survive without them, to prove I could rise higher than they ever imagined. So I worked, washing dishes, carrying boxes, cleaning toilets. Any job that paid, I took. I set a strict rule for myself: live on less than 20% of my income, save the rest. It wasn't easy. I skipped meals, wore the same clothes for years, denied myself every comfort. But every dollar saved was another brick in the wall between me and the life they wanted me to fail in. And every night, after long shifts, I studied. Software had always been my passion. My father used to sneer, "It's just a hobby. You'll never make money. Be an accountant." But while they laughed, I coded. In my tiny, damp apartment, with second-hand books and an old computer, I taught myself everything, line by line, algorithm by algorithm. Years later, I landed my first tech job. It wasn't glamorous, but it was a start. I worked harder than anyone else, late nights, weekends, endless projects. People started noticing. But the road wasn't smooth. Companies collapsed, contracts failed, I faced layoffs and setbacks. There were nights I feared I'd be homeless again. Still, I never stopped. I freelanced, built apps, took any opportunity I could find. For 25 years, I clawed my way up, saving, sacrificing, pushing forward. And then I made it. Vice president of a major software company. A multi-millionaire. The day I stepped into my corner office, looking out over the city skyline, I whispered to myself, "You did this, Daniel, without them." For the first time, I felt free. But freedom doesn't erase the past. 2 weeks later, life twisted the knife. I walked out of a cafe one morning and froze. Across the street stood a woman with familiar eyes. My heart skipped. It was my mother. She saw me, smiled warmly, and said, "Daniel, oh, it's been so long. We should have dinner, catch up, as a family." Family. The word made my stomach turn. But I agreed. Not for love, no. I wanted answers. The dinner was quiet, tense. My mother's smile was soft, my father's face was stone. I asked them straight, "Why did you leave me? Why did you cut me off and vanish?" My father didn't hesitate. "You refused to listen. You chose software over accounting. We weren't going to waste resources on a hobby. Cutting you off was the only way to teach you discipline." My hands shook under the table. "You abandoned me, your only son, because I wouldn't follow the career you wanted?" He nodded coldly. "Yes, and it worked. Look at you now. You're successful, and now it's time you repay us." I blinked, stunned. "Repay you?" He leaned back, his tone businesslike. "Yes, you wouldn't be who you are without us. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. That was our investment. We think $2 million is fair compensation." My mother touched my hand, whispering sweetly, "You can afford it, Daniel. Think of it as gratitude. After all, we're your parents." I stood, chair scraping loudly. The restaurant went silent. I looked down at them, the people who had given me life, but nothing else. I said, "You think raising me was an investment? You think abandoning me, leaving me homeless, watching me suffer, that was parenting? No, you don't get to take credit for the man I've become. I made myself. Every scar, every sleepless night, every success, I earned it without you." My mother's eyes filled with tears, my father's face darkened with anger. But I wasn't done. "You want $2 million? For what? For teaching me that family can betray you? For showing me that love shouldn't come with a price tag? You weren't my parents. You were just two strangers who gave me life and then threw me away." I pulled a $20 bill from my pocket and dropped it on the table. "There, that covers dinner. That's all you'll ever get from me." And then I walked away. The night air was cold, but this time it felt like freedom. I had spent decades carrying their betrayal like a weight on my back, but now I was free. I realized something that night. Family isn't blood. Family isn't biology. Family is the people who love you when you're at your lowest, who stay when it's hard, who never put a price on their love. My parents weren't family. They were a lesson. And the lesson was clear. I owe them nothing. Not a penny. Not a tear. Not even my anger. I am who I am because I chose to rise, not because they chose to abandon me. And that truth is worth more than any millions.